Let's jump right into things today because we are taking an absolutely incredible chronological journey across the Juma and Maasai Mara reserves. We're going to unlock the secrets of the African savanna by tracking the subtle shifts in animal behavior. We're talking about starting in the blistering heat of the afternoon, moving straight through the golden hour, and ending deep into the pitch black night. By looking at it this way, we actually get to see exactly how this complex ecosystem hands the baton from one caste of apex predators to the next. It's a pretty wild ride. To really set the scene, I want you to picture yourself sitting right in the passenger seat of an open-air 4x4. The bush is super thick, the sun is just beating down on you, and suddenly you hear a guide whisper, "I spy with my little eye something that has whiskers and a tail." That right there is the sheer thrill of the bush. It's that split-second moment of anticipation where a hitting predator suddenly materializes out of nowhere. So let's find out whose whiskers we're actually looking at. Section 1, the stolen leopard kill. Okay, so we kick off our timeline in the blazing mid-afternoon heat, and we're looking at a formidable female leopard named Shadow. Right now, she's dealing with the wildly frustrating aftermath of a stolen meal. To fully grasp what's happening, you have to imagine the visceral sensory experience of being out there. Shadow successfully hunted a fully grown male impala, which is huge, but then an opportunistic hyena completely hijacked the carcass. All that was left behind for poor Shadow was the rumen, the stomach lining filled with digested grass. It perfectly illustrates the harsh reality of the food chain. She's forced to scavenge this nutrient-rich but incredibly foul-smelling leftover, practically swallowing chunks of skin and stomach lining just to get some energy back. It's this sharp, intensely pungent, grassy smell that just permeates the thick air around her. And this moment actually highlights a brilliant contrast in cat cultures. While Shadow is choking down that stomach lining, her little cub's desperately trying to sneak a bite, rolling around, being all submissive. But Shadow, she fiercely swats the cub away. Leopards are just incredibly solitary. They do not like to share, sometimes not even with their own offspring until they literally have no other choice. This solitary survivalist mindset is the exact opposite of the highly social, communal parenting we see over in lion prides, where all the aunties groom and care for the young together. Well, since the cub isn't allowed to eat, it decides it's playtime. But in the wild, play is never just play, right? It's vital biological training. This little leopard actually starts stalking its own mother. It uses a termite mound for cover, drops incredibly low to the ground so it won't be seen, and then, boom, it pounces. If Shadow happens to look over, the cub just freezes. By practicing these exact biological mechanics of play, that cub is hardwiring the muscle memory it will absolutely depend on to hunt its own impalas down the line.
Section 2. Secrets of the Lion Pride.
As the afternoon finally starts to cool down, we shift gears from the solitary leopard to the incredibly chaotic world of the Styx lion pride. The sheer demographics of this family unit are staggering. We're talking about 3 adult females, 1 massive Birmingham Coalition male, and 10 cubs spanning across 3 completely different litters. That is a lot of hungry mouths. And in this bustling nursery, survival can be pretty brutal. There's actually a tiny female runt from the youngest litter, and she's covered in little bite marks because her older, much bigger siblings constantly push and nip at her when she's just desperately trying to shove her way into nurse. But despite all that intense sibling rivalry, the lionesses themselves rely heavily on teamwork. It brings up this fascinating communal behavior known as allonursing. This is where female lions within a pride will actually let cubs that aren't biologically theirs nurse from them. It's a huge factor in reinforcing the social bond between the sisters and aunties of the pride. Though I should point out, it totally depends on individual lion personalities. Some mothers are incredibly generous with their milk, while others will firmly and sometimes aggressively reject another lioness's carb. Now, looking at these adorable, basically sausage dog-sized cubs, you realize they are perfectly adapted for survival in this environment. First off, they have a distinct black dorsal line running down their backs. That's practically a built-in guide to help them follow their mothers through the tall, dense savanna grass. Second, unlike the adults, these cubs are born with heavily spotted coats to help them camouflage seamlessly into the brush. And lastly, just like our leopard cub, they engage in vicious play fighting, biting necks, swatting legs. It's all about building up that critical muscle memory for future hunts. Of course, they don't stay small forever. As they grow up and transition to a strict meat diet, their anatomy adapts in wild ways.
Get this. A lion has a mere 474 taste buds compared to a human's 10,000. That's a massive difference. But lions don't need to savor complex flavors or figure out if a random vegetable is poisonous. They are apex carnivores. Their mouths are entirely, functionally, focused on consuming meat as efficiently as possible.
Section 3. Sunset on the Savannah. Okay, so we hit the beautiful golden hour. The lighting softens, the temperature finally drops, and the massive herbivores of the plains start crossing paths with the apex predators. And we get to witness this totally hilarious micro-narrative play out. A young, boisterous 7-year-old elephant comes crashing through the tree line, trumpeting loudly, and decides he's going to aggressively mock charge a massive, sleeping male lion, a guy affectionately known as the triangle boy male, who happens to be missing his tail. The elephant is really trying to throw its weight around and test the boundaries. And what does the lion do? He barely even registers the threat. The lion's reaction is basically a masterclass in the ecosystem's delicate spatial awareness. As the guides noted out there, if the lion were actually bothered, he would sit up, his tail would twitch, and he'd flatten his ears back. Instead, he merely twitches one ear and briefly cracks an eye open. He knows he's resting high up on a bank, while that rowdy elephant is safely down below in a dry riverbed. The lion is using these microscopic behavioral cues to instantly evaluate the true danger level. If he was really threatened, his whole physical posture would change. But right here, he knows for a fact he's perfectly safe.
Section 4. The night shift awakens.
As soon as the sun completely drops below the horizon, it is like a switch flips. An entirely new, bizarre cast of characters takes over the landscape. When you look through infrared light, you see the savanna transform into an incredibly active nocturnal ecosystem. There's a white-tailed mongoose, which is notoriously elusive, boldly depositing territorial scent markings all over the grass. Up in the canopy, a slender genet is actively bouncing and leaping through the branches, literally snatching flying insects right out of the air. And down on the ground, massive, heavy hippos emerge from their hidden forest tunnels, just totally taking over the dirt roads as they head out for a night of grazing. But the night definitely doesn't belong entirely to the small critters and grazing herbivores. The lions are waking up for their shift, and they come with a terrifying biological advantage. A lion can see 6 times better than a human in the pitch black. 6 times! Their eyes are perfectly calibrated to gather even the absolute faintest glimmers of moonlight, which essentially turns complete darkness into a high-definition hunting ground for them. This is when the true kings of the savannah really go to work.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty thrilling thought to end this explainer on. As the deep, guttural roaring of those Birmingham Coalition males begins to echo across the plains, beautifully synchronized in the dark, you have to ask yourself, what else is hiding out there in the pitch black of the Mara?